Hello, it's Forrest again. Today I thought I would talk to you on this video a little bit about uh, when you start up a company, some of the things that you need to look for as far as, you know, maybe getting your ideas together and stuff first. I know I've spoke before on fiscal responsibility inside of your private life and how that actually then transcends into your business. And I personally think that that's probably one of the most important factors is getting yourself ready to start a business. And believe me, if you don't get yourself ready to start a business, you're going to fail. I mean, it's just like anything else. If you don't stretch and do some few calisthenics or something, before football, and you go out on the field and you have a cramp and you're out of the game or you get hurt or injured. Same thing in business. If you don't do your homework and find out all the things that I talk about, in the business proposal sections. And a quick review on that would be I have basically, throughout my career in starting and running and successfully selling or owning businesses, I've developed a quick way to know whether or not the business is worth getting into, especially when people approach me about possibly going into business with them or investing into a business or something. And that's a three-step approach. Basically, in paragraph form, maybe long paragraph form, the first paragraph should cover your your idea, what it is you want to do, how it is you think you want to put something together. And if you have a plan and you've worked for one company and you think, hey, I can do this better, and you want to run out and do it, or you see something that's missing in the marketplace and maybe you can fill that or do a better job, whatever the idea is, should be in the first paragraph. In that paragraph should also include market studies. You need to know who the competitors are. Basically, I mean, trying to start a company that you're the first one to invent it is very rare. It's like getting struck by lightning twice. It doesn't happen very often. Even Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, there was MySpace first. The Google guys, there was Yahoo first. I mean, they really built a better mousetrap, and that's kind of what America's always been about. Somebody invents a mousetrap, and then 9 other people invent a better mousetrap, and it kind of goes on from there. So most businesses are based off of people building a better mousetrap or doing something better in service related or however they want to do it. So you need to know who your competitors are in the marketplace, and in that first paragraph, you want to list those competitors. Now, if they're nationally known competitors or you know something about the competitors, you want to put on there in that first paragraph, how do they derive their revenue? In other words, do they have some sort of, where they're monthly billing or something they're pay as you go? If it's retail, do you pay then? Do they have credit cards? However they generate money, have that in there too, and then estimates about what you think they do in the marketplace. And I don't mean how much they make in the marketplace, but what kind of market share do they have? Out of 100% of the marketplace, what segment of the marketplace do they occupy? And how are you going to go up against that? That should all be in that first paragraph. One of the things I often look for in that first paragraph is whenever I hear somebody coming to me and they want to start some business that's price oriented, which most things are, I guess. So they want to sell a widget or they want to do something, maybe hair or something like this, and they come to me with these ideas, and I ask them, I say, well, what's going to make you better than the other guy? What's going to make people want to come to you over the mature market out there, the people that have already been doing it? And I tell you, without fail, they always say, I can do it cheaper. And I think, and quickly remark to them, why would you ever want to do something cheaper than whatever the market benchmark is? Because the fact of the matter is, if they're doing it for this and you try to come in under here and they've been in the market long enough, they simply come in there, and then what do? You go down here and they go down there and they run you right out of the market. That's how Walmart works, basically. They come into a marketplace, whatever the shoe store or the candle store and all these other places are around in the area, they're pricing here, and Walmart comes in and prices there and price them right out of the business. So the reality is that what you need to do is figure out what the market is, and then figure out what your competitors are doing. And I'll tell you, a key point is customer service. If you can figure out a better way to help your customer, in other words, if you can create a better customer service environment or a better environment for your customers to come into, or you to go to them, however you're going to do it, use technology, phone apps and different things like that for appointments, and maybe pipe in, something for their earbuds to listen to while they're in there, while you're doing your hair, anything. But never give up that price point. Whatever their price point is, and meet that price point. In fact, if you have enough customer care involved, you may be even to exceed their price point and still gain market share. So the reality is, don't run off straight to price. So in that first paragraph, you can have all those things. What you want to do, other players in the market, what they're doing, how you're going to get into the market with them, about what you think that their market share is, and potentially is there an open part of the market share? In other words, are they missing a segment that would do whatever it is that you're doing? All that's in the first paragraph. The second paragraph would be the paragraph where you get to fantasize a little bit. You get to think how much money, based on how I'm going to price this, how I'm going to generate the revenue off of whatever it is I'm going to do, how much money do you believe that's going to bring in? And show formulas. If you have a formula that says, okay, well, if the marketplace is this, and there's this many people, and I'll have this percentage, and be exact as you can. You got to be honest with yourself. It's like trying to lose weight and not being honest enough to know that you can't eat pizza and ice cream. So the reality is, figure out how much money there's potentially be made for you in that marketplace, and be reasonable, and have a starting point, and you can scale, of course. And then the third and final paragraph, probably the most important paragraph, is how much do you think it's going to cost to get started? And I mean, you got to include everything, all of your startup costs. If it's brick and mortar, building lease, or buying a building, whatever you're going to do. If it's virtual, what it's going to cost to get the website up and running. What's it going to cost to host it? All these different things. If you've got equipment you have to buy, include that. Anything you can have in there. And the number one thing I see that most people miss is, again, most people that start a business are in business. They're working inside of something already, and they want to start their own version of that. And so they're making $40,000, $50,000, $70,000 a year they have over here. And I tell you, most people are living at 6 or 7% of savings. That's about all they save. 6 or 7% is all they're keeping. The rest of it they're spending. So if we have someone making, say, $60,000 a year to stay conservative, and they're only putting back about $3,000 or $4,000 a year, their fiscal needs are $55,000, $56,000 a year. So in that third paragraph, they always leave that out. I look in there, I read it, nothing. It's never there. It's like somehow they're going to just not eat. So when I question them, it's always, well, I know there will be cash flow, and I've got a little put aside, and I'm thinking, no. What you're going to do is you're going to have that cash flow, and you're going to mistake cash flow for profits, and you're going to take some of that profits, and then you're going to go under because you're not really making profits. I recently had a business come to me for possible purchase, maybe investment, or at least trying to turn it around or do something with it. And some person that I've known for a while. And I mean, it must have been hard to come to me, because they had to kind of bare their soul and let me know what was going on before they could, interest me in doing something with it. So they come to me and they have this business, and inside of this business, it's it seems like it's a fairly good business. They've been in it for probably 7 years or so, 7 or 8 years. And when the person approached me and we got to talking about their business model, it was really more concerned of, the person said that they were thinking about retiring. And whenever I hear somebody use the word retire, I think to myself, well, what do you mean by retire? You mean you're just going to quit working? Because if you don't have a pension, then retirement is just stop working. 401k is not a pension. 401k is just it's a quasi pension. It's a feel good to get people working for a specific company. The reality is, unless you really know about how to manage your money and how to build things, it doesn't do any good. So in this person's case, I knew they didn't have a pension. They told me they didn't. They didn't really have a 401k, so there was no money there. Their wife works, but their wife was planning on possibly retiring, and they had a 401k with maybe 150 grand or so in there, which is nothing. It's not going to last 10 minutes, because the problem is these people, and this is really where it comes into play. I asked him, I said, well, how much money does the wife make? And he tells me the wife makes about $80,000 a year or so, and I asked him, I said, so your business, how much money are you making in your business take home? And he says, about $50,000 a year. And so I said, well, that's about that's around 130, say, to round figure sake, let's say $130,000 a year. And I said, do you think you're saving 10%, 15%, 20%? And he said, well, it's been kind of tough lately. And, it's been, we've been really trying to just make ends meet. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. How are you just making ends meet if you've got $130,000 coming in the door? Now we get back into the nuts and bolts of the business he's talking about retiring from, and this is how I entered in a conversation, him basically talking to me about possibly buying it or putting some money into it. So he begins to tell me how he's about $90,000 behind. He owes about $90,000 in his accounts payables. So the reality is, and I run across this a lot with business people. They're passionate people. They really do, but it's understanding how money is developed and the how to be fiscally responsible inside their company, as I was alluding to before, really does count. So he perceived that he made $50,000. Remember, he just told me he made $50,000 from this business when he actually owed $90,000. So he didn't make $50,000. He stole $50,000 from his accounts payables. So instead of paying people, he paid himself. Meanwhile, leaving the vendors on the hook for the $50,000 that he took home. And so, when I told him that, he kind of began to realize that that's why he was hurting as bad as he was, because he was actually taking money not based on real margins, real net gains, but he was taking money based on what he needed at home, and you can't do that. And so, I guess my point here is that in Tim talking to me